sometimes these critics and reviewers bring their own personal thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's sometimes too, it's like, and nowadays too with like websites, like everything does have like a political bent, and you can see like people like and by political I don't even mean like left or right. I mean like, you know, a thing that embodies a cause. Lots of times people will want to, like The Interview, for example. You remember that the Seth Rogen movie The Interview? I remember it when it was finally released being seen as like its champion of free speech, and it was like a bipartisan thing. Everything was happy about it, and I would see websites like rated highly or that much higher than I knew that the people writing for those websites would actually care about this movie, and it was because of what it represented, you know. And so like, and there's other examples of that too. But yeah, there's definitely like personal things. I mean, look, every positive review of this that I've read has not been because of the show. It's been because of the same thing that the President of Fox did, is because we really like Mulaney, you know? And obviously that's a powerful thing. It's the reason we're doing this is because we like Mulaney, you know?
Right.
But we're not lying about the quality of the show. We're not like outright stating that it's actually good. You guys are missing things.
And I don't know. I'll say this and I can cut it if it's not like, but it's like, I'm only analyzing criticism because someone who's reviewing this show positively because they like Mulaney, I wonder if like in certain contexts, if we did shows where we didn't do a lot of sketch shows that got direct criticism back to where we could actually respond to people other than like our friends or ourselves or like comics that came out to the show and could give us like notes or advice. So it's like getting some response from it was good, but like having someone who spent a bunch of money on something, or like Mulaney who like put a bunch of like his hours and clock time in, like if we didn't do some like irreverent show about American history and we did a show about like, you know, our vaginas or something, like I don't know. I just think like sometimes if you play into something that like a specific like Fox has no identity. There's no identity to Fox. Like, what are we trying to like hold this example to? But like, like Brooklyn Comedy Collective, something like a sketch theater, like a UCB or like something that it makes more sense if they're trying to play into some, not political as in like you said, right or left, but political as in like, you know, making sure that it's not just like white people on the stage, making sure it's not just men on the stage, like you trying to be conscious about these things and not casting it out. Because now we've gone in a complete other right direction to where it's like, well, fuck DEI. It's like, well, that's not really what we were, like, I'm a comedian. I'm not mad about fucking DEI. That didn't take any fucking jobs from me. The shows just suck. If you have like a fucking Mindy Kaling show where she's doing, so like, we talked about this, like Mindy Kaling making shows and there's like people on Twitter being like, I wonder if this show she'll have an Indian character fall in love with a white guy. It's like that is a more fundamental issue that we can actually talk about versus some stupid like, well, DEI, they have too many black people in the writers' room. It's like that's not what it is. It's like accurately being funny and like norm to like a regular public's experience. And it's like Mulaney isn't even trying to fucking do that. So there's like just comparing, like if any modern reviewer had to review any of this shit, they would be like, you know, like, whatever. It's just like, you wouldn't even be in that scope. There's no political. They would acknowledge that there's some weird race.
Well, yeah, I mean, it does, like, it harkens back to, I don't know if I've said this yet, but it's a very Obama-era show.
Yeah.
And it harkens back to, I think that time of, like, where the most like, social, like, you could just be, like, the cause that it's representing is just championing Mulaney as a guy, you know? And being like, nah, it's fine. Let him. It'll get better. Like the AV Club episode is like every episode gets better. Like of the first 4 that we've watched, and it's like that's not true. I've watched the first 4 episodes. That's not how it works.
Yeah, so it's like being able to rally around a person is a value, and being rally around like something like it's easier now. It's like a more translatable like political messaging because you can be like, oh, this person's story is important.
Yeah.
But it's like that's not really comedy though. Like if you want to make like a Netflix movie about something or like some sort of Oscar nom movie about like what was that movie? Oh, fuck. It was like all black and white and it won like Best Picture. It was about like the people.
The Artist?
No, it was like a different one. I forget. I wish I knew the name of it, but it was just like a Spanish speaking movie about these people who like work at like a rich house.
Oh, Roma
or like Parasite, like that is something you can rally around because you believe in the thing at the core of it. But no one's gonna rally around Mulaney because it's like, like the guy, you like his. Again, at the time of the Mulaney show coming out, it's like he has a 30-minute album. No, I'm thinking of someone else. But he has like an hour album,
and an hour. Yeah.
So there's like 2 hours of material you can base it on. And people liked him, you know? He was like, he had a lot
Well,
of
no,
promise.
I mean, and like, look, it was universally panned, like, more or less. Like, the nicest reviews were still pretty lukewarm. But there is and so, like, if you're him, I can imagine it being, like, feeling like the end of the world. Like, I could just see my name was like, this sucks, and, like, you're like, fuck. But it is interesting how, like, even in that, there's people defending him, not because of the quality of the show, because of him. Like, I feel like that must have felt at least a tiny bit good, you know, being like, everyone wanted this to be great. Everyone wants what I'm doing to be really good, and look, it wasn't, but at least I know that people like me, you know?
Yeah.
A bunch of people like me.
He said that his mom said that to him. It's like, do you know how big it is that people are still defending you even though your show is being panned? Like, that's a really big place to be in, which is important. And, like, you know, there was a journalist, Mulaney says it explicitly in that interview. He's like, a journalist said, like, we're a week away from the premiere of Mulaney, which is like being a week away from being shot in the face. That's a review that someone wrote about this television show that you and I have now decided to do a rewatch podcast about. Like, I do feel in some way shot in the face, but by confusion. I don't feel like shot in the face by bullets.
It's a stun gun.
Yeah, it's like a taser where I'm on the ground not understanding. My girlfriend watched one of the episodes with me, and she's like, John Mulaney feels like a guy that you worked with 4 years ago, that you never really... You had, like, a good relationship at work, but you didn't have a personal relationship, but you still follow him on Instagram. And what's funny about what we're talking about now is that, like, even my girlfriend watching the show now, like, John Mulaney, despite public shame of, like, a drug problem, of what I don't even find it shameful. I'm just saying, like, there was, like, some amount of, like,
the backlash of whatever he had,
and, like, the show flopping, but having such an incredible skill for stand-up. There's an indescribable defense of his capacity to be likable that you can't deny. That's at the core of entertainment. That he's such, like a figure that people, like, he's unique, too, because he is calling back to an older style of stand-up, but he's so modern in the topics and the material that he talks about that it's like, this is just such the perfect guy for a mesh of these two things. That's like, you can't even deny that this guy is, like, wildly likable and wildly, like defendable.
Right. That's actually an interesting point that I think that we maybe haven't talked about enough, is that, like, this show more than anything is the best example of John Mulaney's appeal as a performer and as a star. I'll say star, but I wouldn't say actor. I'll say star because I think he is one, but because of stand-up, you know? Maybe the last guy to do that. But, like, because you see every single one of his flaws. His worst habits, his worst tics, obviously, like, his acting, but it's, like, you see the things that, like, he, like, cares about that you probably shouldn't think that much about, you know, all of that is here, and it's portrayed in the least flattering way possible. And yet at the end of it, I'm still like, well, he's a good guy, you know? Like, you still, like, as much as, like, as he is correct about calling out the toxicity of parasocial relationships and how he's become kind of, like, the figurehead of that, I get why it was him, you know? Like, you're going to inspire
Do you think Lena Dunham went through this with girls? No. I mean, they were talking about her weird autobiography where she talks about, like, a weird thing with her sister. And, like, nobody gave a fuck about, like, Lena Dunham's likability at the core of Girls because Girls was good enough to be a show on its own. And going back to one of our former episodes with Pete Holmes, it's like Pete Holmes and Crashing ended, and there wasn't a core likability outside of Pete's core audience that listens to the podcast that's going to follow him through this. But John Mulaney has wide, unabashed career, like an adoration from people. That people are, like, very interested in what this guy has to say. And I think his thoughtful, definitely intentional lack of explicit sit-down interviews, explicit, like, giving, like, I mean, Louis kind of the same way, like, not always going out there and doing a podcast and giving his opinion on everything, so that when you do, it's like withholding, so that when you do, it just becomes something valuable. And I think Mulaney has been very, I mean, I don't know if intentional or unintentional, but strategic in that way that he's able to do.
Donald Glover is similar to that, I think.
Donald Glover is the exact...
And I also think that is very much a luxury that not all celebrities have, you know? Especially the modern ones who made their name on podcasts. You don't get to not be there because the only reason you're famous is that you're always there in my fucking feed, you know? There's a way I heard someone describe Beyonce as having transcended the charts. And so meaning like the Billboard charts, meaning it's like it doesn't even matter if like her lead single comes out and it doesn't do well, you know, or like if she even releases a single. Like she could just drop an album and everyone knows it's gonna sell 1 million copies and people are gonna go to her tour and it's gonna win a Grammy or like whatever, you know, like everyone knows that, like, because she doesn't need to be always in your ear because she's just reached that level where, you know, I'm gonna follow her no matter what and anything that people come out. And that's when you get to that point, and it's a rarity and not a lot of people, I think it's getting rarer and rarer. If you get it to it, I think it's very valuable to just be like hide away and then come back, you know?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's just like you go away, you work on your shit, and you present something so undeniably good. I mean,
it's
Beyonce
very
won
much
country album of the year. She's a
very
pop
much
artist.
A messiah complex. The goal of all of our artists is to go away for 3 days and come back with something even cooler.
That's really true, man. It's like the disappearance. Like, I mean, dude, I think maybe one of the biggest, most influential comedic performances of the past 5 years was Bo Burnham's Inside.
Yeah.
He's done no interviews. We have no word from Bo Burnham since Make Happy, 13, and then fucking Inside, and the guy is silent.
Eighth grade,
not 13.
13 is the one with Evan Rachel Wood.
Sorry, 8th grade. But it's the same thing. It's like the idea of you being like that is the next tier. Beyonce, John Mulaney, being able to actually, because like, dude, look at us. We're doing a fucking John Mulaney Rewatch podcast to try and get a little bit of a following on our fucking sketch.
Can we do a clip of you just being like Beyonce, John Mulaney, and then cut into like other great figures from history? You just cut out there.
I just screamed.
Yeah. Oh, it blew at the thing. Yeah. That's funny.
No,
what was 100%. What was the thing I was referencing? Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter.
You're talking about Beyonce.
Yeah. No. But I thought of something. I forgot it. But yeah. So that it is funny. It's like it's an example of Were you ever a Dragon Ball guy?
Mildly, not really.
Well, so there's a part in it where like Saiyans, the alien race that Goku is if you like really get the closer you come to death, if you heal from that, you become even stronger. So there's like a part where like one of the villains is like, kill me, like actually almost go do as much as you can to almost kill me and then heal me and I'll be more powerful than all of you. And that's almost exactly like what this sitcom is. It's like he's doing everything he can to die so that he can come back and transcend everyone else.
Yeah. But the thing is, you have to intentionally go in and thinking that it's good. That's the thing, is like you do have to believe.
You can't intentionally fuck something up.
No, because when they try to do like meta commentary, like it's even like some of the reasons I don't love like the Eric Andre show, because it's like a meta thing, and it's like no, you have to be genuine in your pursuit to have any chance of some sort of organic growth from that. And it is like that Dragon Ball thing, because it's like John Mulaney thought his career was over, and then he went back to stand up and put out what I believe might be one of his, maybe his best.
Yeah, I think
album.
It's his best. Yeah,
I think Comeback Kid is like better than everything else. It's the most like accurate, because even like Kid Gorgeous, he's like kind of like yelling to a theater.
Kid Gorgeous, I think is a culmination. It's very much like this is what everything led to. Your Radio City. It's like these bits are crushing in front of like thousands and thousands of people. But I think in terms of quality of jokes, Comeback Kid is like just easily the best.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's the thing. Is like that's why he's such a fascinating figure, because he's so incredibly good and it has played in these nuances and stuff. And it's like, dude, flop sitcom, Scandal, like he's just survived everything. He is the Bill Clinton of comedy. He just has until those Epstein tapes come out, whatever John Mulaney's equivalent of an Epstein list is, we won't know. We won't know. But I think Mulaney, we got it. He did a whole special about it. We got with the dark skeletons in the closet we're going to be, and now he's better than ever. I think there's going to be an incredible next special that might surpass anything else. Like he's really.
I am very curious about it. Like it is one of those things where it's like, now we're not even really talking about that, but it's funny about like something I was wondering is like he was at the peak of his popularity when the drug stuff and the divorce stuff and whatever all came out, right? And so I would imagine that when you are recovering in that process of recovery, that is what your mind's going to go to. That is what you're going to want to write about. So those are the jokes you're going to write. But he was also in a situation where that is also anyone wanted to hear from him, you know, when he came back. And so it's not the best. It's unenviable, but it is one of those things where it's like if that happened to him in 2012, like right after Newtown, before he got the sitcom, he had a core audience, but it wasn't huge. Like, would he have released Baby J? Like, would people have given a shit? It wouldn't be a thing people were clamoring for, being like, what is he going to say about this? But he would still, I'm sure, have had experiences where he would want to write that material, you know? And so it's an interesting situation where it's like Richard Pryor, when he was, like, after he set himself on fire and came back, it's like, yes, this is a hugely humiliating failure. It's like the thing you were saying about, like, when he was at the level where at the Comeback Kid, they were like, don't talk about the sitcom of I Thought It Was Funny because no one knows what you're talking about. He got to the point where it's like, well, this is all I can talk about, but it's all you want to hear anyways.
Yeah, I mean that's also just a commentary on modern entertainment. It's like the complete synthesis of, like, you don't even have the capacity to be separate from your real life person. Yeah. You don't even get the opportunity to have a persona. Like Shane Gillis has to do some sort of throwaway reference to being fired from SNL. Louis has to mention that he was canceled sincerely. Exactly. You can't. It's like you have no privilege of persona anymore. Yeah. And like Mulaney, it's like for a long time it felt like it was like all persona, and that was what was entertaining to watch. And he was maybe one of the last people to have that privilege. But like his ability to transform that into something that's actually like really deeply entertaining and like embarrassingly in a TMZ way, where it does feel like drama. It does feel like, oh, we're getting a peek behind the scene. But you know, I mean, I don't know. I just think that stuff is just very fascinating. Like the way people, like if we ever get to reach a level where we can actually talk about things and like make those decisions and like make sort of like broad entertainment choices. I mean, we're analyzing it, and like the process of analysis also is like kind of like mythologizing in a way. Yeah. Because you have to engage with it enthusiastically and authentically, because like for him to be like, and then I'll do this special where I talk about my, like, there's no way
he was thinking about it like that, right? As much as if you look at it in retrospect, there seems to be an arc, but it's like you can't think of your career, but also just life like that, you know, like you have to just live it.
The arc is inevitable. The arc is inevitable because if you're actually living your life and doing things and making decisions in real time, it's inevitable. So I just think that is just like a fundamental... I mean, being entertainers and having this sort of separate thing where it's like I put on a nice shirt and go to a club down here in Tampa, or you go do your shows around town and like go to an open mic and like all this different stuff that you and I do.
You'll go to a club, I'll go to an open mic. Yeah.
No, I'm not being rude. You have things. I'm just saying like our lives are different because of the scenes.
You have things.
You have things. You have a show at City Winery, which anyone can go to. This
is probably not going to be up before that though.
But I'm just
That's the problem of like doing all these episodes in advance. Like, not that anyone's listening. Whatever, go on. Sorry, finish.
I'm only making we have different lives. I'm just saying, like, you do these things and you have this separation, but like the only thing is like the pursuit of something that like is working. It actually works. That's what's fun about stand-up is because you actually have to be funny, because if you're not funny, it's obvious. So it's like Mulaney can talk about his life in a real way and talk about his drug abuse and his, like, you know, Baby J is just like a very funny special.
Oh, we didn't even talk about, did Baby J come from this episode of TV? Because he says that, right? Motif calls him Baby John at one point, right?
He calls him Baby J explicitly.
He calls him Baby J.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. I don't think anyone else in the world knows that, because no way has anyone revisited the show since Baby J has come out.
The origin of Baby J. That will be the title of this episode.
Okay, good. We'll have this clip. We'll have that as a good clip.
All right, let's stop talking about it.
Okay, cool. All right, okay. I'll stop the recording.